So let's get started. So welcome everybody for the March Leadership Live. Well, we're glad to have you, Mr. Kevin Carr, CEO and Principal of Pro CEO. We always like to start with our why. And our why is to multiply the blessings and opportunities that have been put onto our trust. I actually saw that this morning. I saw that Campbell had posted a LinkedIn post on our 2 scholarship winners. I love to see what Rosewood is putting out there, and the scholarship, especially with the Campbell and the partnership with them, has been great. So I can't wait for the new interns to come in during the summer. It's always been a good program, and the interns they've always been great. So really do appreciate that, and I'm just glad to see those blessings out there. So that's been really cool to see. Going into this year, we're embracing change with Innovate to Elevate for this Q1. We're wrapping that up. We're going into, Dr. Carr is going to be presenting about the personal responsibility with change and the things that we can do to make sure we're accountable on how to change and what to do and what techniques we can do on change. So he's a really good one with the whole pro to CTO. He should know a lot about it with pros transitioning into the corporate world or transitioning to a new role. So that'd be a good presentation to have him talk about that, and especially end it with this theme for the quarter. So Kevin Carr, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. When I let you know, Antonio, you can move forward the slide. I'll just say the next slide, if that's okay. And we'll
sounds good.
Okay, and we'll move forward that way. I'm delighted to be here. It's a great Wednesday, March 15th. The first quarter is almost over. We're in our 3rd month. So everybody, I'm sure, is hitting their goals. And if they haven't, you have about 16 days to hit it. So let's go, and move us forward. Today's about personal responsibility with change. I can tell you I've been through a lot of change, starting early. My parents transitioned to Florida. That was a major change. Me being a first generation to go to college, major change. Being married 25 years and all the things that go with multiple changes. You all who are married, you know what I mean. But personally, in my career, I've really been adapted to change. I've been very, very fortunate and blessed to have really great career paths. And I'm going to talk about how I've been able to adapt to those, but some of the tools I'm going to give to you today. So let's jump in and get some order going, and then we'll move forward. My name is Kevin Carr. I do have a company called Pro to CEO. There's a sports connotation, but we're not limited to that. We really love the fact that we believe that everybody should be the CEO, and we're for that. Pro, the Latin word pro means to be for, and the CEO, we believe everybody should own the space that they work in. So if you're high on the totem pole or in the middle or somewhere in an entry level, you own that space. Hence, we're for you being the CEO of that. And I've done a lot of great work with a lot of great organizations. And I've been very fortunate to have worked with 2 Power 5 sports conferences with the ACC and with the Big Ten. And then a big sports brand, you guys might have heard of this company called the NBA. I've been able to, I had a 14-year career with them. And then I decided to make a major transition and change. And I now have been running my own company, Pro to CEO. We believe we are the transition experts of transforming individuals and their careers, as well as transforming organizations with great leadership and professional development tools. So next slide. Again, there I am. If you could see in my younger days, no gray, I'm leading players. Don't laugh. I see you, Dr. Fabar. I see you, Antonio. My time at the NBA was one where they used to call me Mr. Transition. When you saw me coming, it meant your name was going to be called and you were going to step into a new career, probably one of the coolest jobs and one of the most challenging jobs you could ever take is to become an NBA player. You could say, hey, what's the problem with that? They're 19 years of age, 20, and all of a sudden you become the biggest star in your community at that young age. And there's a lot of coaching that has to happen. Some of my clients have been LeBron James, Steph Curry, Giannis, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul. I could go on and on. Those young men have now really personified what I think transition into an NBA and using your platform the right way. I think we all have a chance to do great things when we come into organizations and you're asked to fill a role. These guys have filled a role and then they've taken it to another level. Not every player's transition has been that smooth. I've done the same thing with lots of people and they just did not take advantage of it the same way. And hence you hear of NBA players, some of them not doing as well. So it's all about how you deal with the change and transition. Next slide. My goal is really to equip you with a new way to look at change and really improve your leadership going through that and to help you really create a better community that embraces change and really serve others really well, your teammates that work aside you or work in another area. You guys have a really great family of companies. So I believe what we're going to serve up today will really transfer under the Rosewood Renaissance very well. It'll be able to help you guys be super successful. Next slide. With that, our agenda is obviously we're in the welcome here. We're going to talk about change. I'm going to actually introduce you, and we're going to have a little fun with this. Animation. Who doesn't like cartoons? I know you do. I know you do. I do. I still am some ways a kid at heart. That's what keeps me thriving and energized. And I've never lost that. And I believe this will kind of help you guys learn too. So it's a very different way of looking at how to come into a training and not be boring or dull. You have the ability to be engaged here. And I'm going to give you a call to action after I go to the I.C.P.P. model. Next slide. Today, I want you to participate. I want you to stay plugged in. I want you to make sure your phone is off of, ring and put it on silent. I want you to be responsible for your learning here. So take notes. Be truthful and obviously communicate the best way you can. Some of us are eloquent communicators. Some take us a little bit more, but communicate. You have permission to coach me in this and coach each other. And most of all, let's have respect and know that what we're talking about here stays within the Rosewood family, and we'll have some fun. Anything else, if you have, please put it in the chat. If there's a question, you say, hey, Kevin, this is what I want to get out of this managing change. Put it in the chat, and we'll be able to address that as we go. I may already address it as we have it built in, but if not, we will work on that. Next slide. All right, so today I want to talk about making today's headlines. Look, everything has been shaken up. If you haven't been reading, you've been under a rock with the banking meltdown that happened with Silicon Valley. This is sending shockwaves through every financial institution in the country. And look, it will continue to have major things happen in our society around what happens, changes what and how we go forward. Know that this type of issue is not immune to the banking industry. It happens with individuals. When you hear about some type of thing that happened to their lives, it sends shockwaves through organizations or through media or through society. So we're no different. I just use this as an example. These headlines are headlines that are out there and have made big news in all these different types of newspapers. So I'm just letting you know, whether you're realizing it or not, and you've really dove into the Silicon Valley issue, I'm using it as an example, is change consistently happens, and it happens all around us, even if it's not impacting us. So today, your organization has asked you to look at a change and embrace a change with your new way forward in terms of the Rosewood company and how you've restructured every company now. Its president will lead your company respectfully in the way in which it should go forward. It will not be a C-suite on down. It will be from each organization's culture setting, its leadership setting, the culture that makes sure it fits within your line of business. So all of your companies can operate in a way that sees fit for them. And that's huge. And that's a really big opportunity. And I'm excited for you because it creates more of an opportunity for impact and for opportunity for its organization, each of its leaders to grow it the way they see fit. So next slide. But with that comes, let's define how, if we make this change, let's really get into why we need to understand it. And your organization has said, hey, we've got to make these changes, but to understand change, you want to define it. And I've defined it. This is a Webster's dictionary. It says an alteration, a deviation, a substitution. I'll use a sport connotation, a pivot, a new development in a process, or any difference from the way things were to the way we want to do things now. This is a major definition of change, and I think everybody here can understand it. It's a little more technical, but I just want to make sure we're letting you all know that we're looking at this from its very essence of fundamentals. We're going through a change, and we want everybody to understand that. So know that change is consistent. Change is going to be something that we're all going to be dealing with. So right now, I want to do a first exercise, and maybe you all can put it in the chat. Maybe we can put it in a way that will allow others to see it. And Tony, I don't know if people can see the conversation, but I want to enter in, and I want people to enter in if you can, and if you could talk to it as well. Is the first thing I want us to write down is, have you been through a change? What's a recent change that somebody did in their lives? I'll put this that I have, and I'll put it in the chat. I have, and if anybody has one, go ahead and put it in. Oh, newborn baby, congratulations, Lewis. Wow, that's big, that's huge. Anybody else? I have 2 new people living with me. And I can tell you, this isn't typical. I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old living with me. So I can tell you that's a huge change. That's a recent change that I have had, and it is very, very different. It is something that I will say, on top of that, has really challenged us and put more, because I already have 3 kids. And I love the fact that everybody here is going through something. So please light up the chat. We'll keep going as we think of new changes that you're going through. I want you to put it in the chat. We want to hear from you, because we believe everybody has something that they're going through. Whether you made a new addition to your house, you got married, you're empty nester, I saw, your parents have come to live with you. Unfortunately, sometimes we're going through things like people have lost someone in their lives that was significant to them. Somebody recently passed away. Unfortunately, to be quite honest, some of us may have gone through a divorce or something, or someone had moved from one company to another company and they're new to this company. That's a major change. Or they're new to another division. Listen, change is happening. We don't have to hide from it. It's certainly something that happens in our lives. So I want to let you know it's okay to talk about that change, because sometimes change can be painful too. Quite honestly, when I left the NBA, that was a major change for me. And that was a major transition to leave something you have been doing for almost 14 years and to go do something else was a challenge. So let's let's move forward on the next slide. So with that, here's the three dynamics in which when we go through a change, like you guys are being asked to in each of your organizations, we all struggle. We all struggle with the change. And I just talked to you about that because we have to give up something in some ways. Once you enjoy, and Scott was talking about this, once you enjoy the work that you do a certain way, you get used to it, man. You just like doing it that way. Like, who doesn't like for me, I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, I, do devotion with my wife and kids 5 days a week. I like doing that, and that's the way. But when we get off, I get a little testy. We get a little chippy in here and there, and that's an easy one. That's just me at my house, okay? But one of the things I see is that we tend to resist it. So when you're resisting, it's because maybe you lost or possibly losing something that you have to give up. And there's a sense of confusion. So I want to take you through why, you might be resisting or maybe thinking about resisting or maybe a little slow to change. But I want you to take through these are the dynamics of these are the mental things that sometimes we go through. We lost something, when you're going through change. You lost your freedom. You lost maybe some autonomy. Maybe you're losing that type of person or the process that you enjoyed, and you have to give something up. And then now this new process, a little confusion. There's some ambiguity, confusion during the time of getting used to the old things. Like you like the old things now, this new thing, you don't really know what it means, but you got to look at it and say, now I have to deal with, this period of ambiguity. Because there may be more questions right now than answers, for sure. And, I want you to know that it is tough. It is challenging, and I want you to understand that you may not be as motivated now to do that. Think about a beloved football team. You guys have the Carolina Panthers, right, in your area. They went through a lot of changes with quarterbacks recently, and probably 2 seasons worth. Like, there's a lot of anticipation, like, are they going to be good again? They lost McCaffrey, all these things. Like, I could bring a lot of issues up, right? A lot of pain points. But the fact is, the organization has to move on and has to continue to develop itself and move forward to get back where it needs to be. So for you all, I want you to think about this change that's going on with Rosewood and your respective lane of company. I want you to think about a way to do this. And I want you, if you're at your office and you've got, like I've got right here, I want you to do what I do. Sometimes I have to physically do this. I have to take out a sheet of paper. And I want you, if you have one, this could be easy for you, if you have a little Post-it note, like a little piece of paper, and I want you to write down something on this piece of paper that you fear about the change that Rosewood is going through. If you've got a minute, I want to give you a minute to do that. I want you to take a piece of paper. I want you to write one thing that you are fearful of Rosewood going through. Is anybody writing? Please write. All right. I've got mine. If I was working at Rosewood, I would say I might be afraid of losing anyone from the Rosewood community because of this change. I don't want to lose anybody. I like working with people. I like the people that we have on our team. I don't want anybody to go. That's my fear, right? What is your fear? If you've got a fear, I want you to have written it down. You don't have to put this one in the chat, but I just do want you to know that I want you to have that. But guess what? I want to empower you right now, right? So I want you to, if you're in the office and you got a trash can next to you, I want to take that fear. I want you to ball it up. I want you, yeah, there you go, Matt. And I want you to do like I do and slam dunk it and throw it away. Boom. There you go, Matt. Somebody do whatever you got. Don't hurt yourself doing it. But I want you all to know that those fears are real, but I don't want you to hold on to them. I want you to slam dunk them and throw them away and not get lost in the fear. Because there's some stages I'm going to take you through right now that are going to help you deal with that. So next slide, Antonio. All right, managing the transition. So how are we going to manage this? Kevin, you just pumped me up. You got me throwing away my fears. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Stages of transition. We're going to end the old. We're not going to hold on to it. Ending it means you're holding on to it. Transitioning, you got to finally let it go. We just slammed on it, and now we're going to start a new beginning. We got to think differently. All right, so the stages of dealing with this transition is we got to move forward with some level of swiftness, meaning that we can't stay stagnant. We got to maintain focus in adversity. We got to have communication. We got to track our progress. These are all keys to moving you guys forward. All right. These are stages of dealing with that transition. So please capture those if you don't. I think these are very helpful that you can't stay stagnant. You've got to maintain focus in this adversity and keep your eye on your job. And you got to communicate during the process with your teammates, your colleagues, co-workers, communicating up or communicating down, depending on where you sit in leadership, and track how you're doing. Check in. Today is a check-in. Like, we're really training ourselves to really be able to track how am I doing and really have a consciousness, because I understand that some of us could be resistant to that change. All right. We know that we have to overcome that, and I want to be able to help you with that. And I want you to have what we call, and I heard as we were preparing for this, I want to really help you to have more adaptive mindsets. I want to have a little fun with this and how you get there. Next slide. When I was developing transitional strategies, I came up with one that I heard from actually NBA players. We were sitting in a meeting one day, and one said, the problem with this team is we hold on to things too long. We got a new coach, a new system, and we're not moving forward. And I introduced and created this character for NBA players, and I'm giving it to you. Next slide. This character is called Carl the Clinger. How many clingers do we have? Hopefully, look to your left, look to your right. Hopefully, there's nobody there. You have to look at yourself. Are you a clinger? Are we holding on to the past with this new Rosewood Renaissance strategy here? We have to think about when we hold on too much, we may hold up our progress. A person who is a clinger, just so you know, when I created this character, I was talking to, we can't live life in the rearview mirror. Well, our best days can't be behind us. They actually have to be 10 times as big as the windshield in front of you. If you look at a rearview mirror, it's that tiny mirror like in your car or on the side. You can only see so much. But when you look forward, you have this big glass windshield, and it's 100 times bigger. And that's what I want us to think about. So when I'm coaching you on Carl the Clinger mindset, I understand that there's great things about Rosewood, and I love the name Renaissance, meaning that there's this classicness that you'll never lose, this essence of where you came from, but also you have to move it forward and with new strategies and new technologies and new methodologies, or else you will be challenged as you move forward as an organization. So I put this character together just to give you a sense of this is a real emotion for people. People like working the way they work. People like doing the way they've done things. But I want you not to have this organization left behind, because there are some advances happening. There is some competition out here, and there are people coming for us. And we do not want to be left holding on to the past too long and get passed up. And there's a sense of Rosewood having some things about its past and history that we don't ever want to lose. So let me respect that. I definitely want you to know that I have a high level of respect of the people who have been around, people who know the organization well. You brought a lot of value, and this is why the organization is where it is today. But we also know that for it to remain competitive, we have to make advances. And this is where we're working on how do we, through the change, how do we get through the adversity? And I'm going to talk through that. Next slide. Managing change takes what I call the identity, culture, people, and process. It is an opportunity for you all to learn, first of all, how to identify and make change a real leadership opportunity for yourself. Look, change may not go as advertised. It might be bumpy, like a plane ride. It might be turbulent, and it might zigzag and go back and forward, up and down, and all of that's going to happen as we go through this. But one of the things I want to give you is some tips and tools. I want you to write these down on how to get through it, and we'll move forward from there. Next. First of all, we want to work on our identity as we go through this change. The identity in this, if you can go back to that slide, Antonio went back for whatever reason. Identity is decide you want a clear direction individually, as a group or as a team or as an organization. This is what Rosewood companies are deciding. They are deciding to give autonomy to each of the organizations. They're deciding how they want this to roll out. They've done the research. They've done some incredible investment of time and resources to get here. And they want us as an organization, and they want you individually and collectively to know that you're part of how they get there. And they want this to work. So they're talking to us as a team and letting us know what the expectation is. And they've asked me to kind of put it in a way that I think could be helpful. So they want you to work within the team this and be coachable to find your way and to find your role in this. And I think you have to decide what you're going to identify in this new role and latch on to it and not make any types of challenges where it can't be overcome. All of us have ways and things that we're going to have to work through as we get through this. And this is something that all of us are going to have to embrace. There's a way to do it. Hopefully you can find in this process some nuggets that'll help you get through it. And then know that the adversity is here. We're going to try and fail until we find the right fit, timing, and results. We're going to have to fit better with this new process over time. We're going to have to fit in some new methods, some new strategies, some new teammates, some different people. We might lose a person here or there. We don't know. It may take longer. It may be quicker than we thought. The results may not be as advantageous, or the results may not be as big as we hoped, but maybe they will be even bigger is the goal. So I see this as, first, working on the identity of change. Where are you going to play in here? Decide you want to be a part of it, and you are, else you wouldn't be here. And then how do you work with that and find your way? You become coachable, and you look at your role and you lock in on your role, and you understand that it's going to take time. It's going to take some fit issues and some adjustments, sort of tweaking, and then hopefully we are on our way to getting some results. Next slide. The next thing is, culture, and what kind of culture change are we in right now? This is a major one. Rosewood has not done anything like this before. This is the first in a very long time, from what I'm hearing, of any major change. So we're in a major shift right now. We're in that what they call ambiguity a little bit, and confusion. But there's actually a way here because we've been able to figure out what we want for everyone. And we just have to now go through it and really understand that, we have said, or what, we're speaking to it. We just don't know exactly how it's going to work out, but we've put a process in place, and we want to create, again, in our culture, the alignment in the kind of culture you and the organization seek to establish in the future. We're trying to align that now. We're really trying to put that together, and you have a big part of that. So know that this is part of the process of creating culture, getting alignment with everybody who is in each of your respective organizations to come together and say, let's work, let's talk, let's figure it out, let's follow the process, let's trust it, let's gain and make incremental gains day by day, week by week, month by month, quarter by quarter. And that's how we're going to change culture. And you have a part in that. Remember, the pro to CEO means you own the space in this that you have as your role and responsibility, your job, and you own that responsibility of taking your piece of it in this whole system. You have a piece of the process, and you can decide to make it go forward or not. And then, what do we want out of the time we invested together as a result of this new change? That's the results part that I talked about. We want to be always talking about what do we want to see, and then we want to be able to go out and actualize that and put it into work and create the conversion that we're looking for this to really gain traction. Next slide. All right, the people. The people are the biggest part of this. Understand you win with the right people and with the right attitude. Your attitude and mindset and the people are going to be the biggest things. Do you have what they call, and I said earlier, adaptive mindset to change? I can remember when I was working at the NBA and they asked us to make some major changes around social media. Most of us had never really heard of things like Twitter. This was way back before it was going. And our boss challenged us to be the #1 sports league in the world in it. And a lot of people had trouble getting there. It's like, why would I go on social media to post and do this and that? And we were very early stage to it, and we just start to dig in, and it started to get more people from all over the world following the NBA. So he was right. But, you know, we as the people had to have the right mindset. We had to have a winner's mindset. Okay, we're going to trust this and we're going to go after it and we're going to have the right attitude. And that's the thing, having an adaptive mindset to even new things that hopefully will help you get there. Develop a people plan and who on the team is going to help us get there. Figure out who your go-tos are. You have a line that you follow up, or you are managing people. Figure out how you're going to get everyone to be on the same page with you and work with you. And you, if you're that person they are looking to, will you be part of the team and you will help us get there? You know, will you really embrace the opportunity as you see it for this organization, your particular business in which you work in? Will you be able to help us get there? And then know your capabilities and the personnel around you as well. Know what you're capable of, and then what everyone else is capable of as you look at the people that you work with. Some of us are better at certain things and adjusting, and maybe ask your colleague how to adjust for that as you are working with them. You know, how are you making adjustments? How are you doing? I talked about that before, checking in with each other, making sure you're good. And if you're not quite getting something, it's okay to have someone coach you on that. It's okay to ask someone to give you some more insight on that. It's okay to stop and say, okay, I'm interested in learning a little bit more about this before we go forward so I have it right. Those are all ways in which you enhance your capabilities and tap into those around you. And then as a leader, it can get lonely when you're trying to make a change stick. All of us know that there's some risk involved here. To do what has been advertised, saying we're going through this change, It's going to be great. We hope that, on the other side of it, we're going to have these kind of results. But what if leadership has said all these things and it's not quite coming? I want you to still stand in there and realize that, sometimes things don't go as smoothly as planned. Sometimes you have a ideal of what you want, and then as you go through it, you have to make what I call shifts and adjustments, and be okay with that. Know that those adjustments are required in order for us to get there. So I'm telling you that, that when you're in that leadership spot, I want you to have some compassion or some empathy for your leaders and for each other, that if it doesn't quite go right, don't stop talking, because it can feel lonely when you make these changes and nobody's like talking about it and nobody's, super, enthused. Sometimes that might happen, but I want you to not fall in that space. I want you to be continuing to push and to move forward and have communication. And really, that's the right thing when things aren't going well, not to stop talking about it, but to do the right thing around that and really speak to, okay, how do we get more accountability here to make this work? Or how do we, be more transparent to make sure that we understand every process here? But this is real important, and really knowing that your leaders and your supervisors, they're going to be tasked with moving it forward. And if it's not working, don't stop communicating. Work with your people and the people around you to make sure you're communicating out the right things to get it there. Next slide. And then process, the system and process you have to go through. We have to go through something in order to get something. You've always heard that phrase, in order to get something, you got to go through something. If we want the results that we want, we have to go through this. And it's going to require accountability. It's going to require management. No one likes to be micromanaged, right? But at the same time, we're going to have to do more checks and balances than we've had, because this is new to us. And we want to make sure that we're getting the progress and the results that we're looking for. So the system and the process we have to go through. Let's develop consistency through good habits while you're transitioning through the change. Definitely consistency, definitely good habits. If we can get into disciplining ourselves around this new change and working at it every day, like I said, every week, every month, quarter, that is the consistency that we're looking to develop a good habit to ensure this new way of working with each of the presidents really creating the culture that they're looking for. You're a part of that. If we can have consistency, that's going to help. Measure results for effectiveness, of course, that check-in or having multiple ways to really see how the process, obviously, people say the numbers or the quantitative analysis or analytics there. I'm sure there'll be some measurement factors in which you guys will have for each of your companies that will be a sense of reaching your goals and accomplishment. And know that most of all, this takes time. This takes major time in order to create change. And in some ways, some of your organizations may move quicker than others and may have some progress. For those who may take a little longer, it doesn't mean that you won't get there. So let's not get caught in the snare of compare or analysis paralysis, where you're analyzing everything else, but you're not really staying the course. Like, they might be doing better over there than we're doing over here. Let's stay focused on what the road that we're going down, and making sure that we're making the progress that we decided to do and to really decide to make. This is really important, because as you're going through this, our emotions can get caught up with the change and transition, and we may resort to falling back into the clinger in this. And I don't want that to happen. So know that great results here take time. And that is part of the last process. So again, the I.C.P.P, identity, culture, people, process, help us deal with change. And if you can remember some of these nuggets out of each of those would be extremely helpful to you. Next. And I want to make this a little personal. I want to show you something that I had to go through a major change to leave a big entity like an MBA and be able to make it work. And I want to use this to show you that you can go through change. You can make it on the other side. You can be successful. You can work in a team environment and have a lot of success. You don't have to necessarily do it the way I did it, but I'm showing you as an example of a change that happened for me. I decided to launch my own firm, and I had to leave some things that I was comfortable with. And there was a lot of ambiguity there. You know, I had kids and a wife and all these things that you have, you know, a home, cars. You want to continue to save for your retirement, healthcare, 401k, all that. I had a period where I wasn't sure, but I used every asset that was there. I got with the right people, hence part of the people process. I figured out a process that would work for my company. I locked in on a new identity, and I wanted to create a culture that transition was our mission, to help individuals transition well or create transformational change in leadership and professional development for organizations. And I was able to lock in with a great partner, and it helped uplift our company to help us get there. So Antonio, can you play the video? And this is a great partner to start out and do great business with, and it really set the path. Well, all right. I show you that, and you can switch to the next slide, as a way to give you a sense that change, when you decide to embrace it and jump all the way in, you can go very, very far. And with that, we, as me as a person who had this thought about how could I create a major transition for myself and for my family and for an industry that I still wanted to be a part of, how could I do that? And I created my connections and working with people, and really got the right process together that an organization like the New York Stock Exchange believed in us enough to want to do work with us. They wanted us to help find more athletes, really work really well with them. So I'm really encouraging you that this is my example of it, but you can have your own example within your framework of lifting your organization up and moving it forward. I truly believe that. In the next slide is that your next level is right in front of you. It just depends on what you want to do. So I'm just really giving you that a sense of encouragement that you can really take your talent, you can take what you're doing with the Rosewood companies, remember some of the things that we talked about today, and I want to kind of open it up for questions if there are any. Next slide. And I want to obviously stay connected with you. All these are things that we can do to stay in touch. You can follow us on all these platforms and still continue to connect with us. But I'm opening it up to questions about change and managing the change and being able to be helpful to you. As you know, I've gone through it internally in companies, but also my own. Any questions around the transition or change for anybody?
Hey, Kevin, it's Matt Epps. Hope you're doing well. Thanks again for coming today. And I recovered from my slam dunk and back in action. Um, can you talk a little bit as a leader about trust and how you did you ever have any times when you were going through change where you were concerned about the trust in your employees and how you helped build that trust in the that the change was going to lead to great results for everybody involved? Because we talk a lot about trust, and just was curious your take on that word and how it goes in part of change.
Yes, absolutely. I have dealt with it when I worked for a big Power Five school, Michigan State. I was charged with building a brand new program that had not been there before. So there are a lot of people who have been there for 20 years. Here I am, brand new, coming in, and people are like, well, who's this guy? Why should we trust him? He's getting all these things coming his way. I've been here for 20 years. I don't even have a quarter or half of what he has, right? So when they're asking us to follow him, he's brand new. What does he know? It was difficult because I had to gain the trust of people, and people had to believe that I had the best interests of them as well as the organization in mind. And all I could remember was, Kevin, it's going to be incremental. It's not going to be overnight. So incrementalism was my word, step by step, inch by inch, yard by yard. So I began to build strategies to find out who was aligned with me and who did like the thought that I was here and that what I was bringing was going to be valuable. So I just sought out to find champions, sought out to find people who would be on board. And I figured at some point I could get enough of those people to help me help those who were fence setters, say, well, look at what he's doing is actually working. It wasn't me saying that, but it was the people that championed what I liked. They began to say it for me. I didn't have to say it for myself. So it's almost like I had cheerleaders out there speaking on the change that was actually good, and it was people that were already in the organization. They just were faster to adopt to it because there's going to be some people who are going to be a little slower. Some are going to be ready to go rah 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 right away. And I think building that trust just took me time. I had to do it through person by person, and then by out product or byproduct by byproduct. And once we got to that, I was able to get the trust of people, and we went on to have amazing results. We end up winning what we call in my profession the Program of Excellence Award, having the top Division I program of all the sports for athletes and developing coaches and developing staff. And it was a phenomenal process. It took honestly took about two years to get that trust. And I was willing to put in the time. And then after that, results started showing, and we actually won a national championship in basketball during that time. So I think we really helped the culture become more set and produce a winning culture as a result of the changes that we had to put forward. But trust isn't something that's overnight. It isn't something that you're going to possibly gain everybody to be on board. And if they're not on board, find those who are and work towards that and use those outcomes to help others see that you do mean well by the change and that the outputs speak for themselves. It's not just me speaking. We're helping make a difference for this organization and for the people that we serve and the customers that we deliver, that we promise to deliver upon. So I hope that helps, Matt. Is there anything else I left out?
No, I think it was great. A couple of quick points you made. Trust does take time. It is not something that a title on the door or a title on a business card. You just blindly fall in behind it. And I do think that your point, 2 years to get that execution award is a big deal, and it does take time. I like the point on the champions part of it. Trust is difficult. What you talked about earlier in your presentation. New employees or folks that you haven't spent a lot of time with, you don't have a lot of history with. older employees, not in age, but they've been around you a lot longer. They, skepticism can build. And why are we doing this now? So you've got two ends of the spectrum that sometimes take very different methods to build trust with. And I think consistency is a big part of that throughout the time. And appreciate your insight into that. Thanks very much.
You're quite welcome. Anybody else? We got about 59 other people on here. So whoever else wants to take a stab at it, let's go. This is about you and helping us as a team come together. That's why I love having a little bit of sports background, because sports can kind of reflect how we need to come together easily. We come together because we all like that same team, and it doesn't matter, where you're from, how you speak, how much money you have. You just like who you like, and you come together. And that's what I want us to do here. We're all under the same veil, the Rosewood families, and we want to make it stronger, bigger, better than it's ever been with this new change. Anybody else? Don't be so quiet, Rosewood. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it. It's time.
Kevin, this is Stacy. I wanted to get your thoughts on just thinking about the Rosewood Renaissance, and I'm a former athlete as well. And no matter what you do in a game or what your expectation is, the goal is always to win the game, but the game is constantly changing, and what you expect to walk into may not be the change that you're expecting. Like game plans may change, formations may change. Like there's all these things that could change from what your expectation is walking into the game. You may review tape, like all of the things, and you can come in expecting one thing, but when you actually get into the game, the change may actually be different than what the changes that you're expecting. Mm-hmm. So as we're moving through the Renaissance, we have tried to prepare for the change and put some plans in place, but there's still things within that change that are not as expected. And so can you talk about the change in the change, and like so the end goal and where we're trying to get to is not changing at all, but how we're maneuvering through it is changing. And so I don't know, that's might be a complicated way to ask the question, but that I think is one thing that while we're in the middle of it right now is important for everybody to understand, that we're not changing directions. We're maneuvering differently, I guess.
Yeah, you watch how a coach does the timeout, and they pull everybody aside and they make adjustments. They're constantly saying, look at this, adjust for this. And I think what we've got to think about is we may have to be making adjustments as we fly the plane. And doesn't mean that we're not going to the destination. We are going to go where we said we're going to go, but we might have to go this way, that way, up or down, make adjustments to find the smooth air so we can eventually land it and land where we want to. I think that's a connotation, but when you are working with people, you're going to find that what we said on Monday could possibly change by Friday, and we don't need to get bent out of shape by that. It just means that we have to make those shifts along the way, and they may, in this newness of it, keep coming. And I think obviously you want to settle down and not have to change all the time. So the reality is, yes, you want to settle it and get it on track to where you don't have to make shift after shift after shift. But the reality is it could take a lot of time. The thing I think about is if we don't go for it now, we're going to look a year from now and say, we should have done that. Sometimes when I started things, I didn't necessarily start out with a YouTube page 6 years ago. Somebody told me that 6 years ago, 8 years ago. I didn't do it. Do you see how big that industry is now? Look, at some point you have to make adjustments to your process, or else you'll be looking at yourself a year from now, 2 years ago, or 2 years from now and say, man, we could have made that change. This is where we are right now. So we're really locking in and trying to put forth the right energy and effort and research and design and process and strategy and forecasting and assessments and data and analytics and hiring the right people and getting the right leadership and the right way to, evaluate opportunity. But all of that requires for everybody in there to own their part of it. And, sometimes my coach, thanks for saying that, Stacy, when when you talk to high performers, sometimes they don't have a lot of time for people to get very emotional about things. They really want you to take the task at hand and move the opportunity forward. So when we're going through this, I want everybody to be reminded that yes, there are some challenges that we're going to have, but we don't want to get too caught up in our emotion of it that we can't move forward and make adjustments, or else we'll stay stuck. And I think the change is going to be something that we are going to be going through together, and that there is going to be ambiguity, there's going to be some confusion, there's going to be some sense of loss and all the things that I spoke of. But yes, are we moving it forward? That is the plan. That is where we want to go. This is what we want to do and how we want to do it. And we just have to make adjustments along the way and know that there'll be some. But if we have what we call a adaptive mindset, and know that that comes with the territory as you're going through change, adaptability, flexibility, coachability, accountability, leads to productivity at the end of the day, we hope, and that leads to profitability. And that's where we also want to be. And not just profitability in money, profitability in the outcome of our people. Our people are profiting well in the way they feel about how they come to work, how they show up, the energy in the people around them. We profit better by having that kind of culture of winners and success mindsets if we do the things that lead to having a very healthy culture. So that's a great question. I'm hoping I'm hitting on some of the things that you're talking about, Stacey.
Thank you.
Hey, Kevin, one last question. I know we're right here at time, but I think it's important to maybe tie a lot of it together for a lot of us. At Rosewood, we obviously have 5 different companies with 5 different services and product lines, and again, all under the Rosewood umbrella. Looking at your website, you have worked with a professional football team, the Chargers, a professional basketball team, the Pacers, a professional hockey team. Very similar to how we are at Rosewood. We have professional teams that are in very different sports, have very different challenges, but you have been able to find a commonality in helping those individual sports or individual brands grow. Any word of advice for how how that worked for you? How were you able to take a message to a professional football team, hockey team, basketball team to send us forward with?
Yeah, I mean, universally, all those organizations want to do is build a culture of winning ways. And when they're not winning, what do they want to do? Get back to winning, right? So part of it is understanding that everybody here has a role to play, or else you wouldn't be here. And we look at what you do and we assess how it fits in the team. And whether it's hockey, baseball, football, or basketball, or track and field, or corporate, all of us are seeking at the end of the day, hopefully, to bring forth our very best and win with consistency. And to me, that's what I've always tried to help every organization I work with understand, that at the core of football or a basketball or hockey team is they want to be successful. At the end of the day, they want to provide a great product for their constituents to be proud of in their community. And at the same time, they want to be able to have a balance where they can be proud of the work and that they left something better than when they found it. And I think that's part of every organization that I've been able to work fundamentally, They want the same things. They want the success to be able to carry out throughout the organization. And when you create that, there's no greater feeling being part of, as a administrator to, 3 national championships, hockey. I'm one of the few people who have rings in hockey, football, and basketball as an administrator. And, in working with my own clients now, they're going through a little rough time right now. But, most recently, one of our clients, University of Georgia, they have back-to-back championships. It's about creating culture and knowing that you want to create a winning culture. And sometimes you have bumps in the road, but you can get there if you keep the main thing the main thing. Putting yourself in a position, your organization in a position, and not thinking too much of just yourself, but thinking about the whole and that you're part of that. And if you can create winning ways in the part you own, everybody does a good job on the part that they own, then together we all rise. And I think that's part of how I've been able to put messages for each of those different types of industries and help them be successful. And I'm glad that you put that together. It's a really, really good analogy. Actually, 5 companies like different sports teams, they literally are different in its ways, but at the end of the day, that you all of you want to win for Rosewood.
Excellent answer. Thanks, Kevin.
Quite welcome. Anybody else for the good of the order? If not, I am still available through the contact information Antonio has. Feel free to reach out. Follow us. We'd love to pick up more people to understand that we're as competitive in the business space as we are in the sports space. And I'd love to look forward to being back, I think in a couple months. So we'll see you again soon. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it,
you so
Kevin.
much, Kevin Carr. Yeah. Hey, everybody, if anybody has any questions, just email marketing and we'll send it over his way. But thank you guys for joining the March Leadership Live. And thank you, Kevin. See you in a few months.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you all. Definitely. Thank you.